Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster. This is going to be episode 5 of the series, and just like last time, we are starting directly with an update. No long intros, no long talks about what we did last time. This time it was completely planned, and this time we are here in front of Villa Volta and Villa Morel as we called it in game. But Villa Volta, there has been nothing changed on Villa Volta, but the update is behind us. But if we take a turnaround, then we can see a big lake over here. And on this lake we have this beautiful walkway where people can sit and watch the water and cool off for a little bit. If we are ever going to do a show, and I'm not saying we are going to do a show, but if we are ever going to do a show, this will probably be the location where it is at. It's going to be a water show or a fireworks show or a combination of the two things. So this is where people then can stand and watch the show. There we have Pegasus in the background with its beautiful lights. Excellent. Then if we take a walk to this side over here, we have a new path coming up to the Sky Temple. And then, of course, on this side, we have a detailed D-Station building in the same style and colors as we did the Sky Temple. Blue roofs, white walls, yellow-green accents. And, of course, the red lanterns that give that beautiful, eerie light in the dark. So, lots of small little trees and plants over here. And then if we take a look inside the station building, nothing really too special, just a queue, a little bit up and down. And then we have the station for the steam train itself. As you can see, the roof of the station building is just centimeters away from the roof of the train. The train does not need to hit a little bit of a bump in the rail, because then it would hit its roof on the roof of the station. And then on this side we have a little bit of a tower, which is the exit building of the station. I built a tower for this station because just like the other station had a clock tower, I wanted this one to have a tower. So this is now going to be a tradition in the park. Every train station needs to have a tower. And then, not much else has changed on this side. We can take a look over here real quick to see what the lake looks like from this angle. Plenty of space for viewing a show, should we decide to build a show at some point. And then the rest of the banks, I added a little bit more nature to fill in the gaps. Excellent. That is this side done. Then for the next update, we need to go to the other side of the park. So let me go there real quick. And here we are at the entrance of the small playground in front of Spookslot, one of our favorite places to be in these updates. And if we take a look to our right, we can already see something peeking over the path and over the treetops. Maybe you recognize it already. If we take a walk over here, then we see this is a dive coaster. And obviously, if we talk about dive coasters in Efteling, we talk about the Baron. And this one is indeed inspired by Baron. So let's have a quick look. And actually there is a train coming up to the top right at the moment, right as we speak. So let's take a look at our new dive coaster. Obviously on this side not much theming has been done yet, because not quite sure what's going to be here yet. I think this is where we wanted to have a Darkride. But if we take a look over here, take this path, this side is still a little bit empty because I'm not quite sure what to do over here, but we'll get to that later. Then if we take a left over here, then we can see the coaster going down. Over here I built some lockers so people have a place to put their bags and stuff, so they don't have to carry them around. I used one of the ATM machines as sort of a ticket machine for the lockers. Then we have the coaster over there, of course. Then over here, this is the exit path to the coaster. To our left over here, we have a drink shop. And if we follow the path, then we enter a little plaza over here in the front of the coaster. There is the lift hill. The rest of the coaster on that side of the plaza. This is the station building. As you can see, a very nice looking station building, lots of bricks used, lots of metal used. It is supposed to represent an old factory building, an old factory hall. Then we can see a little bit of the queue over here. Another little hop over there. And then this is the entrance to the queue for the dive coaster. Nice little shaded area with a big tree in the middle. Then this is the first room we enter. Not much special to see. This is just one of those up and down queues, purely built for capacity, so lots of people can queue in this ride. And on our left we can already see a coaster going by. We have a little bit of a viewing area of the coaster getting back into the station. There are the block brakes. Then over here we get outside. Have a nice little view of the plaza. We can laugh at the people who aren't queuing for the coaster. And then we have the station building in here. Now the station building itself, again, quite simple. Not a lot to it. It's just meant to be a big open area. Obviously, because dive coasters are pretty wide. Then if we take a look to the exit, and we need to wait until a car is here because we can't cross the station without a car. Exiting the station for the dive coaster, we get to the back of the hotel over here. This is obviously just the back of the station building, nothing really special over here. If we take a walk to this side, we get back to the drink shop and back to the plaza over here. Excellent. And then there is a little bit of a pathway over here going underneath the coaster. This is the pathway that wraps around the entire area. This one also goes back to the South American themed area over there. So we are back at the bridge over here. This is the other side of the exit path. And this is, yeah, the area around the coaster. Now, I haven't named it yet. Obviously, it's inspired by the Baron, but I haven't come up with a name yet for this coaster. I would like the name to start with an M, because if we take a look over there, let's hope we don't get stuck in the nature. Take a look over here, these supports, they kind of resemble an M, which is of course the first letter of the park's name, Mystica. But I would like the coaster to be, I would like the coaster name to start with an M as well. And obviously, Baron in Efteling, the story of Baron is that you are entering a mine. So the drop, the fall from the dive coaster is you entering the mine. You would think it would be easy to come up with a name that starts with M for a coaster that is inspired by a mine. But as I said before, I am terrible at naming things, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know. Every little bit of help is absolutely welcome. Otherwise, I think I'll ask ChatGPT again to ask for a coaster name based on a mine starting with M. Anyway, if we then jump out of Cam real quick, then this is the area for the coaster. I think the theming for the area is pretty much done. As you can see, I used a lot of these red and yellow and orange fall type of trees. I think this looks better than the green trees because, I don't know, somehow the fall colors bring out the coaster more. The colors of the coaster stands out a little bit more. And I think if we used all green trees, that wouldn't have been the case. Obviously, there's still a lot of green trees around. Also, all the bushes, or most of the bushes, are green except that one small little red bush that we can't use everywhere. So, yeah. This is how it looks from a little bit of a distance. Now, the layout of the track is obviously very inspired by Baron. Baron is actually a very short coaster. You have the drop, you go underground, then you have the Immelman loop. Then I think there's another roll before you are going back to the station. Basically everything after the first drop and the Immelman is designed to bring you back into the station building. The thrill of the coaster in Efteling is the story, pre-shows, it's the show in the before you get up the lift hill. So the ride itself is of less importance than the story around the ride. And that is what I try to recreate here. Obviously we don't have any pre-shows because that never works really well on a coaster anyway. But we have the drop, we go underground, we have the Immelman loop, we have a couple of more sections before heading back in the coaster. So a very short ride, just like Baron is in real life. And we have to look at the dark. So the coaster is lit up red during the night. And the reason for that is obviously this is a steel coaster. And I chose a bluish color for the track. And especially from a little bit of a distance, those red spots on the coaster they look a little bit like rust, like the coaster is rusting. I think that looks very nice at night. The red being a little bit of rust around the track. Very nice. For the rest, yeah, just the normal street lights around here. Inside the station building, we use some of these lights. Same goes for the queue. Obviously, the queue is a little bit brighter because people have to walk there in the dark. So yeah, that is how it looks from above during the night. It's a little bit darker than some of the other areas of the park, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's actually a pretty good thing, because this is supposed to be, you know, Baron takes place in 1898, so this is supposed to be late 19th century, this theme. So a lot of lights wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. And then I'm going to leave you all with a on-ride for the coaster, for our new dive coaster, which until now is still nameless, still called the Ethon. Ethon. I don't know, that's just the name that the game gave it. But let's make an on-ride of our first dive coaster. Sit back, enjoy, and relax. Alright, here we are in the South American section at the front of the queue of the log flume with the coaster on the background. Beautiful sight if you ask me, but that is not why we are here this update. We are here because if we take a look on our left, then we have the edge of the park over here, and if you recall from the last update, over here there was nothing yet, and we filled in this entire area on the right with some plants and some trees. We can already see a couple of cars there in the distance between the bushes. We will take a look at that later on. And if you follow the path over here, all the way through here, all this work on this side we have done. All the work on this side we have done, all these trees, all these bushes. And then we see a little bit of a building pop up in the distance. That is the train shed. Still more trees, more bushes on this side. And if we continue over here, this isn't going to be a very big update, by the way, just a little one. But I did put a lot of work in it, so that is why we are doing an update at the moment. Then over here to our right, we have the station building for another train station stop. Again, with all the train stations in this game, we have kept the interior really simple, just one big queue. Then over here on the train station, very simple, yet again, no roof over the train part, only over the queue. We gave the operator a small little booth on that side. Then we have that enormous building over there, which is the train shed. I tried to hide it as best I could with a lot of trees. You hardly see it from the main path. This is actually one of the only few places in the park where you can actually get up close with this building and see how big it actually is. Then if we follow the exit path for the train station, we get into a little shed over here. And this shed has, as you can see, a lot of shops. It has a balloon shop, a hat's fantastic, and a drink shop, obviously. Again, no real interior, just a nice looking building from the outside with some functionality in it. And if we get out of the train station, the first thing that we see is this cool looking Immelman loop over here from the dive coaster. Absolutely beautiful. That is the progress that has been done on this side. Doesn't look like a whole lot, but putting down all those trees and all those bushes and all those plants, that took a pretty long time. Plus, it gets pretty boring after a while to just be putting down trees and bushes and plants, maybe the occasional rock or two, but yeah, gets boring real fast, real quick. So it took a lot of time to get that done. Now on this side, you can probably already tell that the path has deviated from the course that it was originally on. We'll get to that later. But if we take a quick walk over here underneath the Immelman loop, then we find ourselves over here with a little bit of a shop. This is the sweet shop. I'm not quite happy with how this building looks. I tried to model it after the new building in Efteling that is on the place where Spook Slot used to be. I also tried using a mix of that brick style building that we used for the dive coaster and the white plaster style building that we use for Spook Slot. I tried doing that by making the walls white but still made out of brick. Not quite happy with how it looks. Also, I haven't seen the new shop yet. That is where Spook Slot used to be in Efteling for myself, so I only had pictures from the internet as a template to build this from. I don't think we succeeded. We might change this in the future, but we'll see. For now, it's going to stay. There are actually a couple of shops in here. There's a floor, there's a ceiling. The walls are pretty neatly done. Again, no real interior. And yeah, it's mainly the doors, I think, that I don't like. I think if I could fix the doors with actual doors that open and you could see inside, I think that will make it a whole lot better already. And I don't really particularly like the roof. The building it's modeled after has like this fake burnt down roof. So that's obviously not very doable in Planet Coaster unless you're going to use 1,000 little tiny pieces. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out in the future. Then, if we walk along a little bit further, here we have our secret path. And now that there is a building on that side and a playground on that side with some bushes, it actually looks a little bit like a secret path. It is very narrow. It doesn't really look like any other of the paths. And if you wouldn't know it was here, you'd probably miss it. So that is pretty cool. Then, of course, there's an entertainer over here. Lots more nature over here. Now, this is actually a real secret hidden path. And obviously, it ends at the train station and the pagoda area. Or the Sky Temple area. And then, if we take a look on our right over here, we are here at the back of the Immelman Loop for the dive coaster. I filled in this little area with some plants and some trees as well. Then over here, I had a very big piece of land left over, which I thought was too big to just fill in with trees and bushes and stuff like that. So I put a little flat ride in it. It's a cool looking little kiddie ride, balloon ride that goes up and down, sort of like an octopus. And yeah, I think this is a very nice little ride to use. I used some of these quirky little lamps over here, gave them a reasonable color, so that the color matches most of the rest of the park. And then, yeah, that is how I filled in this area over here. So if we jump out of Tangent Cam real quick. So this is the area behind the dive coaster's Immelman Loop. As you can see, this is where we put the little sweet shop. We have a little bit of a staff area in the back over here. But for the rest, it's mainly trees, mainly forests, bushes, stuff like that. We put in this cool little ride. It's called the Aeronauts. Just like with all the other flat rides, I haven't changed its name. I just removed the one at the end. And that is it. And then the queue for the Aeronauts. We have so many queues that are just up and down, and very straight to, straight on. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for this queue. So I made it a little bit whimsical. Lots of cool little twists and turns, obviously. Lots of bushes around. I purposefully kept the number of trees around the queue to a minimum, so that if parents who want to let their kids go on to their first ride solo, they can keep an eye on their kids while they're in the queue, and then the parents can just sit around here on these benches and keep an eye on their kids. Very, very cool. And with that, we have most of this area now filled in. There's still this little awkward spot over here. I still think it's a little bit too big to fill in with just trees, especially because we have this one over here as well. But I don't think anything else fits in here, and we already have two flat rides over here very close together. So yeah, probably it's just going to be trees in the next update. Then speaking of trees, here is of course the next station building for the train. This is the train shed, and if we follow the path along all the way around the area of the dive coaster. We get back to the bridge over here, and the bridge now ends in a parking lot. We have a little bit of asphalt, we have a little bit of a sidewalk around it. The bridge itself has a part for steps and a part for people who don't want to walk steps or who can't walk steps. Lots of nature all around it. I put some cars in the parking lot, gave them all a slightly different color, some of them a little bit wonky, you know, so it doesn't look too straight. And again, I used a whole lot of trees to blend it in with the rest of the surroundings. So now the entire back part of the park is 100% finished. And this, I forgot to show you this one over here. We have a little bit of a tunnel. The road that leads onto the parking lot comes out of this tunnel over here and then ends in this parking lot over here. And this is the parking lot for hotel guests and maybe even for employees who work in this part of the park who don't want to go in all the way through the main entrance at the front. Excellent. Then we have one more thing to show you, and that is of course the night view. The parking lot is lit up particularly white. It's a real big contrast to the rest of the park, and even though it's only a small little car park, there's only like room for like what, 25-30 cars. It is pretty big compared to some of the areas in the park. I mean, it's almost as big as the entire area of the coaster over here. It's probably as big as the plaza, the station building, and most of the ride of the dive coaster. It's probably as big as Villa Volta and the plaza in front of it. So yeah, that is pretty realistic in my opinion, but it's not something that we are going to do at the front as well. We will put a parking lot at the front, but it'll probably be as big as this one, maybe a little bit bigger. But I'm not going to put a realistic sized parking lot at the front, because that would mean we'd have a parking lot that is as big or maybe even bigger than the park itself. And I really don't like this harsh white light, even though that is what roads would use as their lights, because yeah, the bright light makes it so that you can see everything very, very clearly. But as you can see, the park itself, I use much more yellow orangey lights. I think that looks much better. It just gives a warmer vibe than the cold white light that we used in the parking lot. And then over here, of course, the railway station is lit up a little bit. And then here we can see, of course, these cute little lights that I use. These are Victorian lampposts. And this time I didn't need to put any spotlights under the ground to make sure they gave off enough light. They do give off enough light. You just have to find the right color light. So that is the update for now on this part. It may not seem like a whole lot, but putting all this nature around here, this has cost me a couple of days. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty sick and tired of putting down trees and stuff. So next update, we're going to have something that I have built for you. I don't know what it's going to be. We have this little shop over here. Maybe I'll spend some time fixing this. Maybe I'll spend some time starting the first of the two major dark rides that are going to be in the park. I don't know yet. You will see in a couple of seconds. For me, it'll probably take a couple days. I will see you in a couple of seconds. Alright, here we are at the back of the dive coaster. As you can probably see, we have opened up the park. I let about 2,000 people in to see if everything worked alright, if all the attractions are being used, if all the paths are wide enough, stuff like that. This update isn't going to be a very big update, it's just to round out the episode. I used time to fill in some details that we missed, fill in some blanks, some spaces that were left blank, stuff like that. So not a huge number of things that have changed since the last update. If we take a walk over here towards the train station, then the first thing that we can see is that I have added some doors to the train shed. So when you look at it, you don't see this big open space in the middle that has nothing in it. Then are you wearing a camo shirt, my dude? And you have green hair? Great. Then if we continue on this way, over here on this side of the dive coaster, there was a little bit of an area left open, and I didn't want to fill it in with only trees and bushes because it was a little bit too big of an area for my liking to do that. So I added a little bit of a what do you call it, a water feature with a statue and a pufferfish in the middle, some flowers around it, and yeah, this is now a nice cool little place to relax, hang out, listen to the water. Then if we walk along the path over here, nothing has changed on this side. We did color our personnel in some different colors. So yeah, this is not so bright blue anymore, but a more darker blue for the pants and a more grayish blue for the shirt, which I think is much more realistic for a security officer. And then over here we have the candy shop that I built last episode, or not last episode, this episode, and that we weren't completely satisfied with. We didn't actually like how it looked. So I changed it up a little bit. The main thing I did was I changed the brick on the upper parts of the wall to have the same texture as the spoke slot over there. Then I also changed the colors, and we have an autosave going on. Yeah, changed the colors to be a little bit more white instead of gray. Added some windows, added a different roof color. And of course we have the sign over there with the black cat on top. Now since this is at least partially modeled after a shop called In the Black Cat, I just had to put that sign up there. So even though it looks maybe a little bit out of place, I think it's a nice nod to the original building. And yeah, this looks much better than it did in the previous iteration. Still not 100% happy about it, but you know, that is how it is. We might upgrade it in the future, but for now I think this is how it's going to stay for a bit. And last thing I did is I added a climbing frame over here with a slide that goes all the way to the bottom, so the kids have something to climb on. And that is about it for the update. Oh no, we have still this part over here. This was open as well last time you saw this. I filled this in with trees and some bushes as well. Also, I think this is a little bit too big for just trees and bushes, but I didn't want to add anything else, so I just filled it in with some nature. Right. So looking at it from above, we are now officially 100% completely done with this entire part of the park. Everything is filled in. There are no more open spaces left. There are no more details missing. Everything is custom supported. Everything is lit up at night. Everything works. The paths are working. People aren't getting stuck or anything in here. So this part of the park is now officially done. And next time we are going to start building on one of our dark rides. We have plans for 2, maybe 3 more dark rides, and there aren't that many rides that we want to build that are left. So we need to start building dark rides because they take a whole lot longer than, for instance, a coaster or a flat ride or a train station. So I have to get working on those so I can keep up the momentum of 1 episode a week. And I'm not quite sure which dark ride we're going to build next time. Either it's Symbolica over here or Droomvlucht over here. Maybe we could even start on the Flying Dutchman. I don't know. We'll see. That's something for next episode. For now, though, this is the update for today. We focused mainly on the dive coaster over here, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. This entire area turned out to be absolutely beautiful. Very happy with it. And with that, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!